Hi friends, it's Heather. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a review of a limited series from Netflix. I added up the time on this and I kind of wonder if this actually was a movie originally that might have even been released in theaters in Norway. That's something I'm going to have to look up later because I'm not actually sure, but it's on Netflix now, and it's divided into a 4-episode limited series, and it's La Palma. Total time is about 3 hours of watch time, but it's divided into 4 episodes. Episode 1 is 50 minutes, episodes 2 and 3 are 48 or 49 minutes, and the last episode is only 39 minutes. I watched it in 4 separate sittings. I watched each episode individually on 4 separate days, not completely consecutive days, but close to it. This is a Norwegian production, so the actors are all well, not all the actors, but the main actors are Norwegian, and it's in Norwegian. So I do know a little bit of Norwegian. I'm still studying Norwegian because we are planning to take a trip to Norway in the future, but I don't know enough to watch it in the Norwegian. You have 2 options on Netflix to watch La Palma. You can either watch it dubbed in English, or you can watch it in the original Norwegian with English subtitles. Now, I actually kind of combined those two. I watched it dubbed in English, and I had my closed captioning on. So in addition to listening to them speak in English, I was also seeing the words in English. So that just kind of helped me because there are a few spots where they show something like somebody's cell phone or a sign or something like that that is in Norwegian. And I don't actually think the closed captioning translates it. So just be prepared that there's a few places where they show something like an alert on somebody's phone or something like that, and the text is all in Norwegian. They don't translate it. But otherwise, the dubbing was extremely good. And my daughter was actually telling me, she said it sounds like how they work really hard with anime to as closely match the dubbing to the movements of it's the animation, or the actors' movements of their lips, so that you can hardly tell. And it actually took me a little bit before I realized that it was dubbed. I was like, wow, boy, they got that spot on. There's only a few places where you actually can tell that it's dubbed, and that is usually when they're talking very fast, or like somebody's having an argument and there's a lot of back and forth really quick. At those times, the dubbing's a little bit more obvious, but for the most part, I had no problem at all watching the dubbed version, and so I was listening to it in English, and also I had English closed captioning on. The plot of this show, this series, it's 2 main sets of people. One is a Norwegian family. It's a husband and a wife, Frederick and Jennifer, and their 2 kids, Sarah, who's 17 years old, and their son, who's on the spectrum, and his name is Tobias. And they are on a family holiday from Norway. They're Norwegian, and they're on a family holiday on La Palma, which is in the Canary Islands. The Canary Islands, if you don't know, is an archipelago of islands off the northwest coast of Africa, but it's actually owned by Spain. It's a very popular vacation destination for Europeans. Not only Spanish people, but lots of people from the UK, other parts of Europe like to go to the Canary Islands for their get out of the cold vacations. Okay, it's very, very popular for that. It's a pretty touristy, resort-like place. Each island does have its own personality, geography, things like that, but it's very popular with European tourists. This movie in setting kind of, and also the plot, reminded me a great deal of the movie The Impossible, starring Ewan McGregor and Naomi Watts, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's an extremely difficult watch. Now, The Impossible is based on a true story about the tsunami that hit Southeastern Asia in, what year was that? It was Christmas I think it was Boxing Day. It was actually Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. I can't remember the year now. I remember when it happened. But this limited series or movie, La Palma, is fictitious. It's a completely fictional story. It's not based on true things. However, I'm not altogether sure that the science that they talk about in the show isn't accurate for the Canary Islands. I don't actually know that much about the Canary Islands. I'm kind of guessing it is right and it is true, and this is actually something that they worry about, but I'm not completely positive about that. But the science is sound that they use. So in addition to the family that's visiting on holiday for Christmas, it's supposed to take place in December. And this came out, by the way, in 2024, so it's pretty new. The other main set of people are the researchers and the science people that work at this institute that deals with geography. I don't know exactly what they are. Scientific stuff related to the island. And then kind of a couple other extra sets of people that kind of branch off of this. One is one of the young women who's working at that place at the institute. She's there to finish her PhD, I think. So she's been living on La Palma and wants to be a hydrologist. So she studies water. Her brother, Eric, is staying on the island with her temporarily, it kind of sounds like. Also, another branch off person is Jennifer, the mom of the family. Her brother, Jens, is in Norway, and he works at the foreign office in Norway. So he's very involved in what happens on La Palma in this, because it's his job to help Norwegian citizens who are traveling abroad to make sure that they're safe and have what they need and all of that kind of thing. He's put in a really difficult position because he's not supposed to contact his family directly, but he's extremely worried about his sister and his brother-in-law and his niece and nephew because they're on this island when this thing happens. So the basic concept of the plot is that while this family is there, the researchers start to realize, this young woman, Marie, realizes that the big mountain on the island, which it's implied that it's a volcano, I think it is a volcano, is cracking. Like a big crack has opened up. Like the whole mountain is going to fall into the ocean. And if something that size actually collapses into the ocean, it will create a massive tsunami, which would affect millions of people all around the Atlantic basin. Now, you normally hear about volcanic activity and the threat of tsunamis in the Pacific basin, especially related to the Ring of Fire all the way around the Pacific. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. There are earthquakes and volcanic activity in the Atlantic basin as well. I mean, anywhere that there's plates and plate boundaries, there's going to be stuff like this. And, also in the Mediterranean with Italy and all of that. So, again, like I say, I think the science that they use is sound. But there's a number of things that happen leading up to that happening, the big thing happening. Littler disasters, stuff with gas, stuff with ash, lava, all the things you associate with a volcano. So it's kind of a disaster movie, but there's actually multiple disasters. And then on top of that, it's a very well done and affecting drama, and especially centered around this family. It's really touching, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the different relationships. There's stuff going on between the husband and wife. There's stuff going on between the daughter and her parents. There's stuff going on with the daughter and someone that she meets at the resort while they're there. And then there's the relationship between the brother and sister, and the brother being in Norway and trying to help his sister. And then there's the relationship between Marie, the researcher that wants to be the hydrologist, and her brother, Eric. And you find out something about them that's very significant to this particular situation. It's just a lot of really interesting relationships going on and emotion and stuff. It was very powerful and very moving. I wasn't sobbing at the end the same way that I did after I watched The Impossible for the first time, and pretty much every subsequent viewing of The Impossible. I mean, when I watch The Impossible, I am literally just sobbing. I'm just weeping. It's so incredibly emotional. I was crying at the end of this show / movie. So I am going to give it 5 out of 5. It's very well done. If you don't mind and you can get past the fact that the original language is Norwegian, and you can either watch it in the Norwegian with subtitles or you can watch the dubbed version, if that doesn't bother you, because it's really not obvious at all, especially when you watch the dubbed version. It's a very good story. The whole disaster stuff is really intense and very exciting and scary. And then the whole drama with all of the different characters in it is also very interesting and relevant and timely and relatable. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this. I was very much looking forward to watching each of the next episodes. Again, there were only 4. Like by the end of episode 3, it gets pretty desperate. And it kind of shows a lot about, human nature and what people will do in a desperate situation and things like that. And kind of puts you into thinking about, what would I do if I was in that situation? It's very impactful. And then the end, I really, really liked. It's a very nice ending. It kind of ends, it seems like it ends a little bit abruptly. Like, dang, But then there's one last little scene that they put in that was really beautiful and really had a very good message, which I think is important for everyone on Earth to heed. So I would highly recommend it for anyone to watch. I mean, it is a little bit adult. It's a little bit mature and a little bit scary. I wouldn't say that it's something good for young kids. But I mean, I would say even like middle school and up, this is probably one that I would definitely recommend. And it might be overlooked on Netflix, especially because it's not originally in English. So don't overlook this one. La Palma on Netflix. Really good. I'm giving it 5 out of 5. Thanks for taking the time to watch this review. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you next time.